Welcome to soulishfemme. I'm Glenaville Manarang, your host for today. Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk with me, airing every Monday and Thursday. On this podcast, I dive into healing from trauma and share practical tools to help you discover and become who you are in God. Plus, you'll also find a variety of my other interests: fashion, travel, food, and more. If you're ready to embark on your healing journey, I invite you to check out my online course on Udemy, Mending the Mind and Heart, Healing After Trauma. Thanks for being here. Hi everyone, welcome back to another podcast. This is your girl, Glenaville Manarang. Welcome to soulishfemme, Real Talk with me. Today's episode is titled Guiding Your Heart with Wisdom. I will be reading from the Proverbs 2 verses 10 to 11 that says, "Wisdom enters your heart, and knowledge of God enters your soul. Discretion will preserve you, understanding will keep you." Wisdom is a definition by understanding. It's about good judgment, wise decisions. Bottom line, we are to let our head, we have to be able to lead with our head and not with our hearts. Guiding with wisdom, especially in the world today that full of distractions, confusion, noise. That's why you need discretion. You need to be able to discern. You cannot just obey, follow, or perhaps believe something that you see on the news without filtering it out, without researching, without asking questions, because that's why people perish for the lack of knowledge. Guiding our heart with diligence also comes with wisdom. As I always like to talk on my channel, our heart is deceitful above all else, according to Jeremiah. If you do not guard it, it will dictate most likely of where you are going. Usually when you are hot-headed and impulsive and impatient, you will be most likely going to make lots of mistakes, and hastiness will lead you to so much mishap that you are going to regret eventually. Guiding our hearts with wisdom requires experience. Of course, when you're a lot younger, you're most likely are foolish. You do not know any better. You don't know the path that you must ponder on because you are still naive and you always believe what everybody sells you. Along the way, hopefully when you grow older and wiser with experience, that you now have the capacity to differentiate between the truth and the lie, because it's all there is to it. Even if majority of people, as I always like to say, will convince you that the right side or the left side is better, but without the truth, it doesn't mean anything. And right now, that a rise of AI, misinformation, deception, we must be able to really stop, think, and pause before jumping into a conclusion. Especially when we're making decisions today, we need to have self-reflection and ask the guidance of God, because God said, your thoughts are not higher than my thoughts. Your ways are not higher than my ways. Most likely, we depend upon man's opinion or man's ideology and ended up being wrong. As we have read the Bible, many of people that God used, when they are impulsive and they're not using their wisdom from God, they usually going to fall into sin. And we can study how God usually is slow. Part of guiding our heart with wisdom is the slowness, pace of God, because God's time frame is not our time frame. People will want you to be quick, be fast, convenience, right now, I want it now. It's the urgency. But sometimes when you do not take the time to pause, think, and ask God, the divine or the transcendent God that will guide you the best course, then we will most likely going to regret. And instead of being proactive, we are going to be reactive, and the damage is already done. We cannot really patch things up now the way that we hope to be, because something it's broken. You could have probably done a damage control before you did something, or you have probably created chaos. But majority of people, we always do the action of what can we prevent it from happening instead of preparing for something to happen, but we do it the other way. So it's important to pause, reflect, and ask God for guidance on how we can move forward in our lives, whether you are buying a house or buying a car or marrying someone that you intend to spend for the rest of your life. Guiding your heart with wisdom also requires a lot of reflection and, as I said, contemplation. Does it align with your truth? Does it resonate with you? When you make a decision out of your life, many people, including your family and your friends, will look up after you. They will give you opinions and ideas that sound really good. And maybe they're coming on as if they want to protect you, because most people would say, I am only saying this to protect you, to prevent you from being hurt. But at the end of the day, it is your life. It is still your decision. You have to live with that decision. Now, if you usually listen to the wrong voices, that's why regret usually comes in later. I have learned this the hard way, because way back in my college years, when I knew deep down in my heart when I was supposed to pursue something in my life and I have listened to the wrong opinions and wrong advices, I had to pay for the price. But thankfully, God has a way of redirecting you back to your path. The beautiful thing about detouring sometimes or rerouting your path is that God will naturally gonna lead you back to your original plan. So for instance, I was going supposedly about communication or something to do about speaking, but someone in my life said it is just saturated. It will be a hard thing for you to get into broadcasting or journalism. And so I did not pursue that course because I have listened to the wrong advice. But funny thing is that right now, God has a way of reintroducing me to this communication, which a form of podcasting and YouTube and blogging that's still related to what my original dream was. So it's okay that sometimes we might be detracted from our original path, as long as you're going to just listen and be discerning. That why do you naturally gravitate towards that path? It's because it is your calling. It is because it's what you're supposed to do. It is what you're made here to do. Even if it has been 5-10 years ago that you think like my dream is already gone because I'm too old, it's too late for me to start now. But the fact that you are always gravitating with the same idea, you have the same sense of curiosity with, for instance, as myself, communication, filming, about videos, capturing photographs. It's all related to creativity and it's all related to mass communication. So this is why you will find out your purpose in life when you just take the time to reflect, ask God for guidance, and then really ask yourself the question, when you were a child, what were the small habits or hobbies that you intend to do, that you love to do, that you're drawn, that somehow when you do them, it ignites something inside of you. This, what I said, is when you are guided with wisdom, it is not by force. When you move with grace and by wisdom from above, it is naturally for you to do this without trying to force something that isn't aligning with your truth. It doesn't align with your calling. If it doesn't align with your resonance or your purpose on this earth, it will have this kind of resistance. When I truly know that I am on the right path, when I was asking God for clarity, because majority of us, as I said, we tend to ask people's opinion, we lack of clarity, we get so confused, and we have been so bombarded with many opinions. When we ask opinions from people, we post questions. What do you think what I should do? What should I think about this? When you keep asking people's opinion, you're going to most likely drown out your own voice. Of course, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask people's advice. Wise counsel is necessary rather than not having wise counsel. But be careful that you must ask the right people. But the problem with constantly asking and questioning people's advice is that you're going to drown out your own opinion. You're going to drown out your own decision making, that eventually you don't even know what you want because you're constantly asking for people's validation and approval, and you're going to lack trust in your own competency. And when you keep doing that, you're going to be surprised that you are now going to differentiate between, is this really what I want, or is this because I'm influenced based on what people tell me? The same thing with marrying someone. When I entered into my own relationship with my husband, many people opposed it. And there were so many voices. There were many opposing voices because of the family matters, and that wasn't their plan for me, whatever it was, the cost may be. But because I had to decide that I'm the one who's going to live with this person anyway, it's not them that have to live with this person. So you just have to really know that when it comes to decision making, you have to also consider the pros and the cons, because there's going to be advantages and disadvantages of anything. You have to weigh the pros. Is it better than the cons? If the cons is much higher than the pros, which is the advantages versus the disadvantages, the positive versus the negative, the positive is more than the negative, then probably that is the indicator for you to go ahead and make the decision. On the other hand, I always use this gauge, and it hasn't failed me yet, that when you also make a decision, there is also the secret that I've been using until to this day. When there's doubt, when you keep on back and forth, should I, maybe I shouldn't, there is a tug of war in your heart, that is not a good sign. When you are trying to make a decision and there's always this nagging voice that says, no, I don't think this is the right one, and you keep on vacillating between going forward and then backwards, that will be a big sign that you shouldn't do it. With anything in life, when it is for you, it will just come naturally. When it's something that is truly appointed from God, it will just come to you without force, without this constantly trying to debate in your head, in your heart, if you should do this. If there's peace, if there is resonance, if there is alignment in your heart and it feels good on the inside, that you don't have to lose sleep over it, most likely that is your signal and that is your sign that God is directing you to the right path, because God is not the author of confusion. Satan is confusing people. That's why the Bible is clear. Let your yes be yes and no be no. If you're going to decide, and if there is no such thing as asking yourself the question of still doubting yourself, then you probably should reconsider, and maybe you should ask yourself the question, am I missing something here? Is this really what I want, or am I being redirected to a different path? That's why it's important sometimes that you take the time to really consider your own inner voice. And that's the only reason why for us to be wise in this world is also trying to understand that the answer, as I already talked about my last podcast, is within you. To unlock the answer is actually listening to what's going on inside your heart. That most likely we think that the answer is supposed to be coming from on the outside influences or the outside opinion from people. And we sometimes don't know that it's probably not the best decision anyway. And you're going to look back and you're going to regret and says, why did I even listen to people? And I should have listened to my own decision making, but it's too late now. But you can always try to recorrect and redirect your course. And so I'm going to leave you with this. I think this is a poem. I'm not sure who said it, but it says, let him sit alone, keep silent, silent your body to listen to your word. Silent your tongue to listen to your thoughts. Silent your thoughts to listen to your heart beating. Silent your heart to listen to your spirit, and silent your spirit to listen to God, His Spirit. So this is why it's important that when we also are guided with our wisdom, we learn to be quiet and silent sometimes so that we can listen to our own thoughts, not the thoughts of other people, not the opinions and the approval of others that does not align with yours. Another thing, is important to be silent with our thoughts so that we can also decipher between God's word and your own word. because at the end of the day, the pathway to really fulfilling whatever God has given you is His way. His way is always the best way. Our ways sometimes are convoluted. It is crooked. We think also that our path is going to be this, but when God says actually that's not the way for you to go, because the moment you actually follow God's way and God's purpose, He will narrow it down, that you don't have any options. That's why Jesus said, the world is wide, many go there, and many fall trap into it, and they will fall into a ditch that they don't know that they're going to be drowning or making the wrong decisions. But the pathway to finding your purpose is narrow. God is going to take away distractions, sometimes people. He's going to take away other things that doesn't align with you. Sometimes He remove you from a different environment and put you into this new place, because that's exactly where He wanted for you to flourish and to grow even farther from you were before. And so that is all that I would like for you to think about, that wisdom is better than anything in this world. That's why it says in the Bible, in all you're getting, get wisdom, get understanding. Wisdom is, I would like to just conclude here, is that it is the knowledge through experience, through education. It is also the knowledge of God. That's why the Bible says, if you don't have wisdom, ask me of it, and I will give it to you. It is something that money can't buy, or you cannot go to school. It is an innate knowing that it is far greater than anything in this world. When you have wisdom, it says it will promote you, it will give you crown of glory. When you have the knowledge and understanding, you can apply what you have learned. Understanding is the application part. When you understand something like cooking something, you know the ingredients, and then plus how do you cook, the steps that you have to take so that you can put all these ingredients together, the recipes together, and then you can make a meal out of it. So in the same way with life, when you have all the knowledge, you have all the wherewithal, then you have all the steps. That's when you do the application with understanding, and you will have the results. And as I always like to say, there's no other voices that truly matters. Is this the still small voice? How do you find that? When you are going into your room in the silent quiet, in your closet, maybe in the dark night or in the morning, where you ask God for guidance and His still small voice that will guide you time and time again. When Ezekiel said, I did not find God in the storm, God wasn't in the wind, but I found the still small voice of God. He is always knocking, only if you're willing to listen and stop overthinking. So that is all I would like for you to think about on today's podcast. As always, I would like you to be bold, be brave, be courageous, and keep your faith. I will see you on my next podcast. Hopefully you will have a wonderful